On October 30th, 1935, at Wright Field, Ohio, Major Hill was standing at the beginning of the runway with Boeing Model 229, which later became the famous B-17 bomber. He got the clearance, pushed the throttles, the airplane started to accelerate down the runway, and at 73 miles per hour, the airplane took off. And according to all of the witnesses at the airport, the airplane was steadily increasing the angle of attack until the point where it lost all of the speed, it nosedived, and hit the ground. Boeing as a company had a lot of problems because of this incident, and they of course investigated what happened. And the conclusion was that it was a pilot mistake because the pilot forgot to release the control surfaces. Up until that accident, the aviation industry was relying heavily on memorizing all of the procedures. But after that, they realized that the complexity of flying the airplane is actually so high that they needed something else. And that was the beginning. That was the point when they started to develop the first aviation checklist. Now, why am I telling you all of this on the channel that is dedicated to software development processes? What inspiration can be drawn from this story for the software engineering? I want to give you 3 points, and point number 3 is really important. So if you don't have a time to watch the whole video, just skip it, go directly to point number 3. But if you take out something out of this video, it will be point number 3, okay? So, number 1, I'm constantly surprised how few teams in the software world are using the checklists. I cannot say which one is more complex, whether flying the airplanes or developing the software, but I would say they are at least of the same complexity, right? I've seen using the checklists in the safety critical software industry, and that's my background. I'm coming from the train control system, the safety critical systems, and we have used the checklists for almost everything, and it was such a great help. We have used the checklist, for example, when we wrote the requirements, right? You need to have the requirements context, you need to give the system context at the beginning of the requirements, you need to give the overview of the main concepts of the system, like for example error handling. You need to have the requirements themselves, review the requirements, whether they are testable, and you need to have a traceability of requirements into the design. And if you have a checklist, you don't need to remember all of that, you just check it. You just run your requirements through the checklist and you see exactly what is missing. Point number 2, if you don't know where to start with the checklist, then I recommend you to download any of the free software standards available. Our company is working mainly in the space industry, so I recommend the ECSS Space Software Standard. You can get a lot of inspiration what to put in each checklist. So for example, for a software testing checklist or for the software release checklist, you will get many items that you can start with. The problem with doing it this way is that the checklist will be very generic and you might have a hard time using it in practice. So it will not be tailored to your team, right? I even asked ChatGPT, please give me a software release checklist. And I got something so generic that I really wouldn't know how to use it in practice. So it should be something tailored to your team. Perhaps the compendium of mistakes that you did in the past is a good way to start, but it should be something that is specific for your team, for your type of project. And here is point number 3. Checklists are not the processes. They may form the basis of your future processes, but per se they are not processes. They are only used to check certain state. So for example, software release or software testing, right? You can use the checklist at the end of the phase to check that everything what should be in the release package is there, but you can also use it backwards from the deadline of the software delivery backwards to make sure that everything what is in the release is being developed, is taken care of. So at the day of the release, you will have a nice relaxed day. So this was a short story how the checklists are used in the aviation industry. They are used in many other industries, including like medical profession. They are used on the large construction sites when they are building a skyscraper. There is a lot of things that they need to think about. So why not to take some inspiration for the software engineering as well? Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.